Podcast of Poseidon is a spoiler-heavy podcast.
That's an understatement.
We're going to discuss not just the events of this book, but the Rhineverse as a whole, and really anything that we feel is relevant. You can find full spoiler warnings in the show notes. And I've got a link to a... Can you not? Well, you need to wait till I'm done talking. That's very rude. Hello, mortals, monsters, and myth lovers alike. You're listening to Podcast of Poseidon, where we explore how ancient myths become modern pop culture, bringing Rick Riordan's, Percy Jackson, and the Olympians. This is Chapter 38, Dragons. I'm your co-host, on loan from the Hunters of Artemis, Darien Smartt. Joining me is my co-host and brother, hailing from Burke, DJ.
How's everybody doing today? Burke is a sweet little town on the side of a cliff that is plagued. Well, not plagued anymore, but it was plagued by dragons.
It was at one time plagued by dragons.
Now they're all gone, and it kind of sucks.
Huh. Interesting.
Actually, I think they've changed that in one of the more recent series, that the dragons are back now. I haven't watched anything after 3, because I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't care. I love How to Train Your Dragon. I think it's one of like the greatest film trilogies of all time, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's stellar from beginning to end. Their series have been hit or miss. And from what I've heard about this most recent one, it's been nothing but miss.
All right, and reminder, this is How to Train Your Podcast, a How to Train Your Dragon podcast. Oh, no, wait, DJ, we lost our podcast. Quick, let's go to the camp store to see if we can find it.
All right. Hey, Darren, is there anything here in this camp store?
There is, DJ. I just found something amazing, and I can't wait to show it to you.
Oh, what is it?
It's a 5-star review from a listener.
No way. How about you read it to me?
Yes, I will. This review... We're not awkward at all. This review comes from Baby Nif 101 from Canada. 5 stars. Thank you. Thanks for everything. You've helped me learn more about myths. Thanks. Also, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus. He is a whatever you want to put. Fill in the blank, honestly.
You get fill in the blank. You get the rest. Yeah. Thank you so much, Baby Nif 101.
It's absolutely
It just
amazing.
fills my heart with absolute joy.
We
so
love
happy.
seeing 5 stars, and we love reading your guys' review. So please, if you guys are on Apple Podcast, even if you aren't, jump over to Apple Podcast, give us a 5-star. We will read it.
You can also hop into the episode notes right now, scroll down to the link we've got, lovethepodcast.com/podcast of Poseidon. You can put that in your search engine, or you can just hit that hyperlink I've gotten there. It'll take you to a webpage that will show you all of the places you can rate or review the podcast that are compatible with your device. We'll see it wherever you leave it, be that Spotify, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Podchaser, Apple Podcast, whatever your phone says you can leave it on, whatever your computer says, wherever you're listening to it, throw a rating, throw a review there. We'd love to see it. As DJ said, it means a lot to us. If you think the show is worthwhile and you want to tell other people, hey, this is worth your time, you should listen to it, leaving us a review is a really cool way to do that.
Thank you to everyone who has reviewed thus far and everyone who will review in the future.
DJ's just getting that preemptive thank you out there because we know you will. We know you are wonderful, stunning, intelligent listeners. We'll definitely do so, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you.
Absolutely. And now back to the show.
All right, DJ.
What's up?
Dragons.
Okay. What about dragons?
Well, this episode's about them. That's what about dragons. Dragons, what do?
Love dragons.
Love dragons too. Also, they are delightful. Sometimes also horrifying. Mostly, actually. Does depend. DJ, dragons appear in the Percy Jackson books.
That they do.
What do you know about them?
They're scaly lizards with wings and breathe fire. That's generally how they are depicted, but they can be kind of like a lot of different things. I'd say dragon is like saying car, right? And then there are subsects of dragons.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Do you remember any dragons specifically from the Percy Jackson books that have really stood out to you?
I mean, I guess, Frank's grandma.
What?
She turns into a dragon at some point.
No?
And the house burst into flames. She was a dragon.
Yeah. Wait, what?
And Frank turns into a dragon at some point, too. Love Frank.
Okay. How about Titan's Curse, this book we are actively talking about specifically?
I mean, yeah, there's that dragon, right? There's also Festus, and then the dragon they have guarding the Golden Fleece. Love it. All great dragons, all good boys.
All dragons good boys.
No, not all dragons are good boys.
Not all dragons. I think we've had this conversation on Entering Storybrooke, and I was adamant that no, not all dragons are good boys, actually.
Not at all, no. Some dragons are dicks.
Yeah, some dragons are just
and it's not
assholes.
like, ooh, an owner thing. No, they're just dicks.
Yep. So yes, DJ, you are right. There is the dragons from the Camp Half-Blood series, Percy Jackson Olympians. We've got the dragon that's guarding the Golden Fleece, that's hanging from Talia's tree on Half-Blood Hill. This dragon's name is Peleus, which is apparently a reference to King Peleus, who is Achilles' father. So that's a
interesting,
pretty prestigious name for this dragon. The wiki describes the dragon as being currently under the employment of Camp Half-Blood, which implies that this is not a guard dog. This is an employee.
Yeah.
The dragon is being paid?
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the dragon's probably being paid in, like, I don't know, shelter, food. Classic.
It's like
removing all of its
like
needs, being paid in its needs, and some of its
it's like
wants.
a hostage situation. You can stay here, but you got to do chores.
Yeah.
No, I was very fat. That just the warding was interesting.
Or it
to
could
me.
they could just be piling onto its hoard.
Yeah, I mean, it guards. It's not like it give it other things to guard in addition to the fleece. So
Yeah.
See, we also have, and this one specifically is a big one, Landon, who is the massive 100-headed dragon that guards the golden apples of immortality and the garden of the Hesperides, which is, those are Zoe Nightshade's Rixosi Do Not Steal's sisters.
Yep.
And this is the dragon that this is the dragon that gave Luke his face scar. Something that isn't mentioned in this book, but yeah. Because the quest he was given to do was go get the golden apples. This thing that Hercules already did. And he does it, but he gets a wicked, wicked scratch. And comes back hella jaded.
He's not happy about it.
Yeah. Probably not a great thing that he was. I mean, additionally, the face scar wasn't great getting scratched by the dragon and being sent to do a quest that the gods didn't really need.
Yeah.
Just to give him something to do sucked. But also, they sent him awfully close to the Titan headquarters. Is that potentially the first time Kronos managed to get into Luke's head?
Oh, maybe. Or maybe even Atlas like had convinced him of something.
Maybe. Yeah. It's like, I mean, the gods did this to themselves, but I definitely think Luke going to that particular location on that specific quest didn't help matters much. I'm not a Luke apologist, but I just like connecting some dots.
Yeah.
Atlas also in Titan's Curse, uses dragon teeth to create skeletal warriors. Specifically, he says he uses the teeth of the dragon Sabaris, and when the teeth are planted, they top into the skeleton warriors that chase Percy and the rest just across the country, and only like Bianca and Nico can kill them.
Yeah. I mean, we get to see them again with Frank's spear, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, they don't stop until their mission is complete. Their mission was to kill Percy and crew.
Yep, kill Percy and go. Didn't go well for them, fortunately.
No.
The skeletons, not Percy, but I don't think the skeletons helped at all. Like, actually, I think they just were an inconvenience to the team, but they never. I don't think they created a net positive for the villains whatsoever.
No, I think that's about it. Yeah, they just kind of chased them away.
Yeah, because of the skeletons that Percy meets Rachel Elizabeth Dare, and Rachel's presence helps a great deal in these later, in like the next book in particular. So like,
oh yeah,
and I think it's because these skeletons are some nonsense, and we'll circle back to that later. I'll circle back to that right now. So mythology. Dragons. DJ, earlier you described dragons as being skelly, winged, breathing fire.
Yeah.
Accurate. All these are true to the modern Western depiction of a dragon.
Generally how dragons nowadays are depicted.
Yep. What's interesting is that the Greek drakon, which, is the word dragon derives from the Greek word drakon and also the Latin conjugate Draco. That's where we get our English word dragon. The Greek drakon is they're snakes, basically. They are large, constricting serpents.
Okay.
Right. They sometimes have poisonous spits or breath, but they don't necessarily breathe fire. Rarely do they fly or have claws and stuff, which means that Python and the Lernaean Hydra are technically dragons in the sense of Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Yep. We've already talked about the Hydra, and we'll get to the Python later down the road. So we'll get to Python later down the road. So I brought some other dragons from Greek mythology for us to hang out with today. Now, according to one source I found, there are 4 classifications of Greek dragons. And I'm going to read these off to you, and you can tell me what you think about this. There are the serpentine dracones, the marine cedia, the fire-breathing chimera, and the sea monster dracone.
Okay.
It's the chimera that threw me personally.
The chimera? A lot of the depictions of chimera have a dragon head.
That's true. I'm confusing chimera with the manticore.
Yeah, you are.
Yes,
it's the chimera has 3 heads.
Yeah, you are.
Well,
you can see in my eyes that I was I was picturing a manticore.
Well, when you said the chimera
done an episode
the chimera threw me, I'm like, well, you're thinking of something else.
Yes, you're right.
The chimera has the lion's head, a snake's head, a goat's head, and a dragon's head, but the snake's head is on its tail. And a lot of depictions of it, at least.
Thank you, DJ. Yes, okay.
Realizing now, Cerberus and Smite is a bit of a chimera.
Really?
He has dog heads, but also it's like a dog mixed with a dragon's heads, and then his tail is literally a snake.
That's a chimera right there. That's a grade A chimera. Yep. So, sticking to the dragons we mentioned in For Titan's Curse. So we talk about Landon, who is the dragon who, guards the golden apples.
Yeah.
In the myth we have the golden apple myth, which we've talked about several episodes ago, is one of the 12 labors of Hercules.
Yeah.
If you want a full rundown of that, jump back to that episode. Our guest, Robert Gamer, does a incredible job.
It was fun.
Just going
over all
the labors. So fun. Such a good episode. Shout out to Robert. And I'm not just buttering them up so they make extra memes for this week. What? I would never. No, so in that, there are actually 2 ways that the Hercules gets the apples. The one that we talked about for that episode was that he goes to Atlas and is like, hey, dude, I need to get these apples. I don't know where they're at, but I hear you do. And Atlas is like, sure, I'll get them for you. Will you hold the sky for me while I do it? And Hercules is like, yeah, man. So he does, and then Atlas gets the apples, brings them back, and he's like, how about I take these to Olympus, and you just stay here? And Hercules is like, okay, cool. Hey, will you hold the sky for just 1 second while I get a belt to brace myself so I can keep holding the sky? And Atlas says, sure. He takes the sky, and Hercules says, fucks you, and bounces. There's another version of this story in which Hercules faces Landon the dragon, who guards the tree with the golden apples. Kind of the version we see in Titan's Curse in the flashback with Zoe Nightshade. And Hercules. And in this one, in order to get the apples, Hercules kills the dragon. At this point, Hera transforms the dragon into a constellation, and that is the constellation Draco.
This sounds about right. Sounds about like a Hercules thing to do.
Yep. I think it's interesting because in the Percy Jackson, in Titan's Curse, Percy thinks about how Hercules tried to go up, use force against Landon, and that just didn't work. That's what Zoe Nightshade was trying to tell him when it was you have to do something different. So they don't try to fight Landon. Zoe distracts the dragon. And, shit, I actually wanted to read this part earlier just because I thought it was really fucking cool what Zoe does. So once they get to the garden, Zoe's sisters show up and they start taunting her and taunting them. And they're like, we see you know, sister, we don't know you. You're going to die. Father will kill you, whatever. And Zoe's like, we're going to go up to the top of the mountain. You need to let us pass. You know he will kill thee, the girl said. You are no match for him. Artemis must be freed, Zoe insisted. Let us pass. The girl shook her head. You have no rights here anymore. We only have to raise our voices and Landon will wake. He will not hurt me, Zoe said. No? And what about thy so-called friends? Then Zoe did the last thing I expected. She shouted, Landon, wake! The dragon stirred, glittering like mountains of pennies. I'm gonna be done reading there. Anyway, so Zoe wakes up the fucking dragon. And that's cool as hell. Because her sisters all bounce because they're terrified of the dragon. And Zoe's able to distract the dragon because it knows her. It remembers her. And it sounds like she describes like, oh, did you still love being fed lamb? Like, the dragon knows her. And so she's able to get close and distracts the dragon long enough for the rest of the party to get up the mountain. And then we know something goes wrong. Landon does end up attacking Zoe and she does get bit. She gets poisoned. So when they do in the fight with Atlas and Atlas throws her and she hits the wall, that injury mixed with the poison is enough to kill her before Artemis has a chance to do anything.
Yeah.
So, but that's just cool. I love Zoe Nightshade, actually. And just wanted to shout out that she's just an absolute, do not fuck with her. She's a boss-ass bitch. Just her sister threatening to wake the dragon, so Zoe just turns around and wakes the dragon herself.
It's super strong.
Chef's kiss. So good.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's Landon in Greek mythology. Sometimes Hercules kills him and he becomes the constellation Draco. There are a couple versions of the origin story for the constellation Draco that we're going to discuss today alone.
Hell yeah.
The other one, and this was wild. This is just insane. So the constellation is also said to be a giant. One of the giants that the Olympians fought during that giant war.
Mm-hmm.
And that he was killed by Athena. And after she killed him, she just yeets him straight into the sky. And he becomes a constellation that way. She does not throw him into the sky to kill him. She kills him first and then just chucks the corpse.
Just to get rid of it. It's too big, too bulky, and can't bury it. Gia will do some hokey bullshit. Got to get it out of here.
In the sky. Yeah, this is episode 2 in the row of Athena just doing some crazy ass shit once she defeats one of her enemies, and it's amazing.
Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm. Not the dragon we've touched on before, but is big in Greek mythology. The Colchian dragon, who is the dragon that guarded the golden fleece on Colchis. What I like about this one is so then Medea helps Jason beat the dragon.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Classic.
In the mythology. We talked about, classic. Everything. But I like this one because it's in the Percy Jackson books. Like, they literally are just doing this again. We hired a dragon to guard the fleece. I hope this one gets breaks if he's under employment. I do certainly hope the dragon gets, a 15-minute break for every 5-hour shift, a half-hour lunch, paid breaks and lunches, PTO. If this is the dragon's job, you're his employer. I hope the Camp Heplet is adhering to, workplace hiring practices and
benefits
and guidelines.
Are great. They feed me. I get to eat as many monsters as I want. I practically sleep all day. This is kind of great. Not many people come up to fuck with this camp. I wonder why.
Yep. It's probably fine. I bet the dragon does actually very little work. It's really more of just a impressive deterrents. I'm looking at the order I wrote these, and I've got a long one that has 3 different bullet point layers because I have to explain different layers of this story. So I'm going to skip it, just do the last one real quick because it feels weird to do all that. And then just one more, literally a sentence. Helios' chariot, the Titan of the sun, was pulled by dragons.
Yeah, it sounds like something that a Titan would do.
Mm-hmm. And which is interesting because Apollo's chariot is pulled by horses.
Yeah. They're more graceful.
Yeah, probably. I wonder if this is where we get the idea of dragons being able to fly in Western storytelling, or winged comes in, because if most dragons are more serpentine.
Yeah.
But the Helios dragons were flying. But then again, horses don't fly either. But Pegasi. But they're not Pegasi. I can't do this right now.
Maybe another time. Who knows?
Yep. Who knows? So the last one, the one we mentioned earlier, because it's name dropped in this book, Cerberus. Now, this was a cave-dwelling beast that terrorized Greek villages and just devoured livestock. Pretty standard. Pretty standard.
Yep.
So, the people of the area went to the Oracle of Delphi, or were like, what are we supposed to do? And the Oracle, because Hercules hadn't shown up to do his labors yet. There's no one there were no heroes rolling into town to deal with the problem. So they were like, okay, what do we do? And so Apollo's like, all right, you got to get the hottest guy in town. And you just sacrifice him to that beast. And that'll appease her.
So they grabbed Narcissus.
So they grab Narcissus, right? And they're like, we hate this guy anyway. Sure. No. So they actually
hate this guy, but he is objectively good looking.
So this is what we were said to do. No. So they grab a guy. His name is Alcyoneus. Very handsome young man. And they're like, all right, man, it's got to be you. You're the hottest guy here. We're so sorry. But they send him up the mountain, basically. Go get eaten by the dragon. And then they put some flower laurels on his head, dress him up very much like you are our sacrifice type deal.
Mm-hmm.
But finally, a hero rolls to town, right? This guy's name was Eurybatus, and he was the son of Euphemos. Don't know who that is. I'll look it up later. And the descendant of a river god.
Okay.
And he happens to roll up, sees this guy about to be sacrificed, and was like, I have fallen in love instantly. No, you can't.
Classic.
That's my boyfriend. And so he volunteers as tribute. And when he gets to the cave, he just throws Cerberus off the mountain and then crushes her with rocks. And because none of the sources I found said otherwise, I'm assuming that I hate their names so much. That Eurybatus and Alcyoneus lived happily ever after.
There we go.
And if that's not true, I don't want to hear it. It's almost Pride, bitches. Give me my happy ending, okay? I need it.
Honestly.
So, Indigent DJ, did you know anything unusual about the story in relation to the topic of this episode?
Descriptions are lackluster aside from being serpentine.
Cerberus is never described as a dragon. Not even the Greek drakon. She's just described as a giant beast of some sort. But not even serpentine, just a beast. It's modern stories that name her as a dragon, perhaps because of the tendency of modern dragons to be living in caves, devouring livestock, and then have handsome young people sacrificed to them. Another thing. There's nothing in the myths about this dragon's teeth or this creature's teeth becoming skeletal warriors. I think this is Riordan combining the myths of Cadamus and Jason. Because Cadamus is a Phoenician prince who killed a dragon that guarded Ares' sacred spring. And then Athena showed up and is like, hey, man, you should plant those dragon's teeth. And when he does, they become the Spartoi, those skeletal warriors. And we see Jason do the same thing in his quest for the Golden Fleece. I said skeletal warriors. They actually aren't described as being skeletal always. Sometimes they're just relentless, perfect warriors.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just was like, it was just interesting because I had to double check. I'm like, wait, this is dragon specifically named. Yeah, no, Rick Riordan specifically says this dragon's teeth.
Not a dragon.
And that's amazing to me because it's actually maybe that's the one I could find that modern scholars was like, hey, this actually probably wasn't a dragon. Actually, that's something we came up with later, but not a dragon.
Classic Greek beast, you know?
just a beast. A beast.
Who's to say what it even was? It could have just been some fucking freak living out in a cave that's just like, hey, I'll trade this for your livestock, and nobody would ever trade because they just didn't like the look of them.
Yeah, the Greeks were assholes. This is true. We know it. So yeah, listeners, what do you think the beast in the cave was? Shout us out. You got some fan art? Draw it. I'd love to see it. I don't care if you can't draw. I'd love to see it even more. Give us a sticky note. A pen drawing on a sticky note. I want to see the beast in the cave. Whilst I was going down this rabbit hole, like I said, I'm 4 bullet point layers in. I discovered a Greek idiom.
Yeah?
So, translate English, sow the dragon's teeth, which essentially meant to instigate fights. Kind of like, oh, you're stirring the pot. Oh, man, you're just sowing the dragon's teeth. I love it. I'd like to adopt it into my just casual vernacular.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Gotta love like old other language idioms. They're always so fun.
I love it. They're always so fun. I love other cultures' idioms. They're just so interesting. And they're just like, it's cool because being explained to it when it is like, what does that mean? Is just fascinating because it's like, okay, I gotta explain some cultural like reference to a thing in like a couple decades, and that transfer. This was slang in the 1920s, and it came. And this is why cats' pajamas.
Yeah, super strong. Love it every time.
Love it. So I've got some dragons in pop culture, and we're just gonna learn today. And then I'm gonna let you talk again, DJ.
All right.
I'm sure you've got a lot of dragons from pop culture.
I got
examples.
a few for sure.
But so I'd like to just a little bit weave through kind of just how we got from the serpentine drakon with just poison or like eroding breath to our winged fire-breathing clawed.
You did say
dragons.
That there were 4 types of drakons, and one of them did breathe fire.
This is true. So eventually you just combined them. Gotta shout out Pliny the Elder. In his book, Natural History, he does describe the Indian drakon as a just giant serpent that could kill an elephant by constricting its neck. He was likely describing just like a real-ass snake, just a python, but it's Pliny, so of course, dude had to be extra.
Hell yeah.
This is probably a good time to acknowledge the difference between Eastern dragons and Western dragons.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody knows what a Chinese dragon looks like. If you think about it, then you're like, oh, yeah, the things that look like lions, kind of. And it doesn't much change as far as I'm aware throughout the different Eastern cultures, but I don't know any further than Chinese dragon.
Yeah, it's the area of China and that area of Asia tends to be like the dragons are very serpentine. They do not breathe fire.
They actually
no.
This might be a One Piece thing.
It's a One Piece thing. I can assure you.
Don't fly.
Eastern dragons don't breathe
flames. They summon flames.
Eastern dragons don't breathe fire.
They summon flame clouds of which they ride upon. They don't actually fly.
That's definitely a One Piece thing.
It's still fucking
cool.
Also fly. It still makes for a cool.
It's still cool. I'm not saying it's not cool. So, as we get more into talking about dragons and our favorite dragons from pop culture, we're not going to talk about Eastern dragons. Like, that's a completely different... As DJ said earlier, you have dragon and it's like a car. So you have dragon, it's like a vehicle. We're over here, we're going to talk about... I wish I knew more about cars. We're going to talk about Fords. We're not going to talk about...
We're not talking about
Hondas?
Honda, Hyundai, Toyota. We're talking about American... Well, probably actually not American, right? Because it all came
not American. I don't like this metaphor anymore.
Fiats and Mercedes and other things like that. Not these other ones.
Yeah, these are great. We can be here all day. And
they get amazing mileage, and I actually enjoy Japanese engineering. But we are talking about the expensive, the well-known, the high class that everybody likes to think about. That Mercedes are overpriced. I don't like them.
Fucking Mercedes. Okay. Yeah. So basically that as when I say dragons are XYZ, I am at this moment exclusively referring to Western dragons because the stories of the Drakon is what has gone through and inspired the Western dragons today.
Yep.
Asian dragons are a completely different storytelling lineage. Eastern dragons do their own thing. So just wanted to make sure baseline, don't at me. I know. Another reason I want to state that is because in storytelling, Western dragons traditionally represent death and destruction.
Yes.
Right? They're the beasts that terrorize.
No, we just see that a lot. It's like they're beasts that terrorize and literally result in the destruction of towns, villages, cities, farmland, just destruction.
People.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredibly rare to find a dragon in traditional Western myth or folklore that is not malicious in some way.
Yeah.
One of these most famous dragons of Western folklore, and I say famous, and it's actually has probably been like eclipsed by more modern pop culture depictions. But when you dive into traditional Western folklore, it's the legend of St. George, who is the patron saint of England. And basically, there's a dragon. It's terrorizing England, and the king sends his daughter to be essentially sacrificed to the beast. Mm-hmm. But good news, St. George shows up just in time, and he's like, all right, show me how to get to your place. So the princess leads him back to her castle with the dragon chasing them the whole time. And when they get there, St. George kills the dragon in front of the king.
Classic.
You love to see it.
Love to see it.
Definitely sounds a little bit like that Greek myth I talked about earlier, didn't it? But,
just a tad.
Heterofied. Just a tad. It's in the Middle Ages that we really started to see, because like I said earlier, like dragons struck on very serpentine, right?
Yeah.
They changed. They changed a lot. It was in the Middle Ages that we really started seeing dragons depicted as winged with the horns and breathing fire. It was also around this time that they became associated with greed, right? The only dragons in Greek mythology.
To be fair, dragons aren't like exclusive to Greek mythology either. There's Norse, and Norse had the greed dragon. That was a thing. Fafnir and his whole story is him turning into a dragon because he's overcome with greed. He kills his brother and like all of that.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe that is why dragon in the overall Western canon of the creature becomes associated with greed, becomes from that, which would make sense. It was around this time that you had a bunch of Christian monks getting all up in the Norse mythology business.
Yeah.
So that's not unrealistic.
And dragons looks like they had a lot more of a variety in Norse as well, but we're not talking about Norse today.
No, we will. We'll get there. Yeah. Let's focus up. Yep. Obviously, classical European dragons often became associated with Lucifer, the devil, things like that. That makes sense. So the greed, the destruction. If you have a hero fighting a dragon, it is often supposed to be a metaphor for Satan. Christians, what are you going to do?
Gotta love it, though. Made for some great, great scenes.
Oh, always good. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying there's a brand here. There's a theme, and you could always count on medieval Christians to stay on brand. Reliable. We do like to see it. So that is a brief history of dragons. And now, DJ, please talk while I drink some water. What are some of your favorite dragons from modern mythology? Or what thoughts do you have about dragons? Now, let's focus up. Dragons in modern pop culture. God, popthology.
Popthology.
Modern popthology.
Gotta love that.
Hate the sound of that.
That's funny.
And if you accidentally name an Easter dragon, I will mute you.
Well, here's the thing, right? Is one of the dragons I got in mind are from a manga, right? A manhwa.
DJ.
Which is, now hear me out.
Okay.
It's Hardcore Leveling Warrior. Love this. If you have not read it, it just ended. Get on that shit. It is one of the greatest fucking webtoons of all time. These dragons, sure, they're from a Korean art, but they're depicted like a normal Western dragon.
Maybe I'd say normal?
Well,
typical?
Typical, fine. Typical Western dragon. To me, those are normal dragons. What do you want from me?
Yeah, but that's a very ethnocentric view of the world. Everything is compared to your culture. Your culture
Everything
is
is compared to what I know,
odd.
Okay? Everything is compared to what I know, what I feel.
And I feel like, and we should always be challenging that. Why is our baseline normal and everything else weird? But typical Western dragon. Yeah. I understand what you're going for. Interesting. Okay, go on. Tell us more about it.
They're the dragon of life and the dragon of death. They're constantly at odds with each other. They are the yin and yang of this world to constantly keep balance between themselves and also the gods that were created to help the central god of this realm, which it's like the lore for it is surface level, but also deep if you feel like there's a lot, because it's a video game. It's a video game that you play in your sleep. Yeah, it's great. Again, Hardcore Leveling Warrior. Guys, check it out. It's wonderful. That's all I'll go into it. Then you got your classics of How to Train Your Dragon. Love How to Train Your Dragon. The variety of dragons there is fucking awesome.
So good.
So
good.
strong. Each and every one of them. Like, I think technicality wise, I mean, I love Toothless. Toothless is my favorite dragon. How can you not? Technicality wise and ability wise, I think I forget the name of it, the twin-headed dragon. That dragon's cool as fuck.
Interesting.
Just spew with gas and then light it. That's kind of sick, right?
That is a really like fascinating ability.
That's a really like unique thing that you don't see in anything. All the dragons are creative, don't get me wrong, but that one is like wholly unique that I haven't seen much before, if at all.
Yeah, that is really cool. I have a list, obvi. But I divided my list into two sections, and one I would call quote unquote classic dragons, meaning dragons from pop culture that adhere to the rules of traditional Western folklore regarding dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the big one that come to mind is Smaug. Greed, malicious, like represents evil and destruction. Like this is your traditional Western dragon, which tracks, DJ, as you just reminded me. Dragon from Norse mythology was the embodiment of greed. That's Smaug. That's the definition of what happens to the dwarves and stuff in the Hobbit.
And I mean, we even can't believe you even thought. We see it happen to Hearthstone's dad.
I read the books one time and not as recently as you have. Okay, DJ?
Ridiculous, Darien. It's a very big moment and it's
I know
very
it is.
sad.
It's very sad. Okay. We're doing Magnus Chase next. You know this.
Yeah, I know.
Just give me some black. Come on. So also, I got Maleficent.
Yeah.
Yes, she is a fairy, but
she
does turn into a dragon. And is very cool. And is literally malicious and just destructive.
Yeah.
And you'll have to see it. I've also got the dragon from Merlin, the BBC series, on here, and it's only because I hate that motherfucker so much. He is the reason so many bad things happen that they didn't have to happen. But if he just didn't tell Merlin about the shit that he said this will happen, and then Merlin would have gotten involved, and then the bad thing wouldn't have actually happened, a la Mordred. We talked about this in the prophecy episode, but I'm still pissed.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I haven't seen that series. I've heard pretty good things about it from you and like other people saying like, no, it actually is pretty strong.
That's fine. That's fine.
I believe Nidhogg.
What is that?
So it's a Norse dragon.
Okay.
Who gnaws at the root of the world tree.
Why?
Because he's a villain. He's trying to kill the world tree.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if like because earlier Lucy's cat was in my room and I had Skylar's jacket that I'd borrowed hanging over the back of my chair, and all of a sudden I heard this weird and I'm meditating, I open my eyes, and this cat is just gnawing on this rubber loop of the jacket where you'd cinch it tight, and I was just wondering if it was that kind of, well, he's just kind of an idiot who's chewing on the roots, like a cat.
No, he's a villain.
No, he's a villain.
He's trying to, yeah. Because it's I guess,
I saved the jacket, y'all. It was fine.
The first three letters of Nidhogg's name in like the Norse translation is supposed to be like, it's a term for social stigma implying the loss of honor and the status of a villain.
I think I want to talk about how you keep trying to turn us into a Norse mythology podcast today. This is the second time. To be fair,
a lot of dragons I know come from Norse mythology. And Nidhogg was a bullshit pull. I didn't even know if Nidhogg was actually going to be a thing. Here's the thing about Nidhogg, right? Is I've seen it twice in games. One game called Nidhogg where you fence each other and try to get each other to go feed the enemy to Nidhogg. Or feed yourself to Nidhogg at the other side of the map, whatever. The second one is in a game called BPM, which has heavy Norse themes. And the final enemy is Nidhogg, a dragon. So I'm like, okay, so Nidhogg is a dragon in both of these games. So I just searched Nidhogg, and yeah, he's the Norse dragon gnawing at the roots of the world tree, trying to kill it and bring about the end.
Of just everything.
Sounds
like a dick. Yeah, sounds like a dick. Destruction and death. Yeah, classic.
His name means
dragon.
Malice Striker.
Oh, like Maleficent.
Yeah.
But they hang out, they get tea. I got a couple others from more recent. DJ already dropped Toothless, which I love. I also want to just gush for a second about how great How to Train Your Dragon is. I love that whole thing. It's just an amazing
series.
It's so good, and just the sequel's so strong, and yeah, it's good.
The first series was very good. Then it started to fall off after that. Any series that came after the sequel, like the second movie, is not the greatest.
Yeah, they struggle a little bit. There's Dragon from Shrek.
Dragon, gotta love her, dude.
I love Dragon from Shrek. God, it is some weird fucking late 90s, early aughts humor. What was everybody doing? I don't know, but I do love
just having a good time.
That's all. The dragon guarding
trying to
the princess.
Stick it to the head of Disney at that time.
Well, yes, Katzenberg was very upset about how his departure from the Disney Corporation ended, which honestly, can't say I blame him. They did try to jerk him around on getting his like rightful pay that was just in his contract, but I will not. You will not hear me defend any corporate, any person ever. But I do love Dragon, and I love this. I love that she guarding the castle, but then she's just looking for a partner, someone to truly see her. I like that she and Donkey work it out with their weird mutant babies.
Weird drunkies.
Weird. Yeah, but it's good. And then,
or would it be Dongans?
I think both are bad.
Both suck. But it's got to be one.
It's got to be one. I'd like it to be neither. They're definitely. I mean, later on in How to Train the Dragon, they get the name a lot better with Nightlights.
Nightlights are adorable.
They are cute.
I didn't even know that that's what those were named as.
Yeah, they're called Nightlights. Gotta say, Spike from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Yes, I know he existed in the other My Little Pony things, but that's the one DJ and I know. So, Little Spike.
It's also, as far as I'm aware, like, it was good up until it wasn't, which happened around, I guess, season 4 or 5.
Yeah,
I stopped watching around that. I stopped watching around then. I'm like, I just can't keep up.
It was a lot. But Spike, the little gem-eating baby dragon, who, but when he gets too greedy, does transform into a giant, just regular destructive dragon.
Normal dragon? Yeah, it gets a little worrisome.
Yeah, and then there are other dragons. It's a lot, but I just wanted to shout out Spike.
And if we're going off of the Greek definition of Drakon, Discord and Chimera.
Yeah, Discord's a dragon too. I'd give you that. I'll absolutely give you that. Absolute destruction and mayhem too. Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
I've got Charizard.
Charizard is not a dragon.
Charizard is in fact a dragon.
He's not a dragon type, Darien.
He's not a dragon type, but he is a dragon.
They don't even say dragon type, dragon Pokemon in the Pokedex. Because it's wild he becomes a dragon type when he evolves into Charizard X.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make him a dragon.
The idea is that maybe he's not a dragon is because in the starter Pokemon needed to be balanced out. You couldn't have him be a dragon type.
Fucking goofy. I get, like, here's the thing, right?
There's also a straight up character who says that you don't have to be dragon types to be a dragon.
Stupid. What all I'm saying right now, right, is that like when dragon types first came out in Emerald and that era, Hoenn, yeah, dragon types were busted.
Yeah.
But we have seen them replace people's types before. I think in these newer games, dragon types aren't nearly as broken as they used to be. It is okay for Charizard to be a fire dragon. And I think it's stupid that he's not, but he's not a dragon type.
Okay. He's not a dragon type, but he is a dragon.
By
wings, breathes fire, has claws. By the definition of what is a dragon.
By the definition of what is a dragon, yes.
He's a dragon.
But in the world of Pokemon, he's not a dragon.
No, he's a dragon. He's just not a dragon type. I'm going to find it.
Fucking ridiculous. No, we'll move on. I believe you. I don't got much time left.
Okay, you're right. You gotta go to work pretty soon. I gotta shout out the Quest for Camelot, the two-headed dragon from Quest for Camelot.
Love that guy.
Because I asked Dragon Tales. Yeah, we just like round up dragons. I did forget you need to leave soon. That's not fun.
There's a whole game where you actually play on the like riding dragons, like a dogfight simulator, but with dragons called Century Age of Ashes.
That's
game
really
is fun.
Cool.
Need to play it some more. dragons show up in Call of Duty Black Ops 3 in the zombies mode. Dragons show up because they are resurrected by the Japanese in order to fight the Soviet Union during World War II because they are losing. And they get German dragon DNA in order to resurrect them and fight them. So Germans build mechs to fight the Japanese dragons. But they are traditional European dragons.
That's actually really fucking badass, and I'm super into it as a concept.
That map is wild. Everybody loves that map. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's still whack as fuck.
Puff the Magic Dragon from the song.
Classic.
Is the song not about drugs? Actually is confirmed not about drugs. The person who originally wrote the song he wrote it as a poem when they were in college. Just had it. He read a story about a dragon, was like, I could fucking write a better story than this, which is a mood. Wrote this on the typewriter. Years later, the singer of like Peter, Paul, and Mary was like, we got a song. I remember that poem. And they made that into the song, and he tracked down the guy who wrote the poem, was like, hey, I want to share the rights with you. We're going to do this into a song. And they've been asked is about drugs, and the guy's like, I honestly had no idea that this was a metaphor for drugs at all. It is really just legitimately a song about what you lose your imagination as you grow up, and that kind of like what adulthood brings. But originally there was another paragraph of the poem in which another child does befriend Puff. They just don't remember it, so I know it's super sad.
I got a couple. Yeah, Rathalos and Rathane from the Monster Hunter series. Obvious dragons or wyverns or whatever you want to call these things, but they're very clearly winged creatures. Rathalos, I believe, breathes fire, and Rathane breathes poison. Both a pain in my ass when I'm trying to fucking kill them.
That sounds annoying.
Yeah.
DJ, may I share with you why dragons are no longer a problem for us anymore? Why we don't have dragons running around rampaging, causing mischief, causing mayhem and destruction? Can I share with you?
Because Hiccup took care of it.
Hiccup did take care of it. This is true. One of my favorite stories of dragon stories is called The Dragon Tamers. It's a short story by Edith Nesbit, which I have had since I was in, I think, elementary school, in my book, The Book of Dragons, which is just a collection of dragon stories selected and illustrated by Michael Haig. Now, basically, there's a poor blacksmith who lives in a ruined castle. And he gets real upset to find out that there is a dragon that has just crawled out of the dungeon. And it's just gonna terrorize the shit out of the blacksmith in the local village. And he's like, can't do that. So he tricks the dragon, traps it, saves the village from being eaten. Years and years later, a troll shows up and starts causing shit. Now the blacksmith's son, Johnny, and his friend, like the neighboring whitesmith's girl, Tina, I don't know what a whitesmith is. I don't know if this is a joke from the story or if it's something else. I never thought to look it up. So Johnny and Tina are able to get the dragon to go fight the troll, then pull a fast one, and trap the dragon in the dungeon again.
Hell yeah.
And then many years later, Johnny and Tina grow up and get married. And they're having the happiest day ever. And they're like, everybody should be as happy as we are. And they remember, that dragon in the dungeon's probably not very happy. So they go to the dungeon. And the dragon's just like, I'm so tired. I'm just so tired. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, you're old and tired. We'll unchain you. So they unchain the dragon. And the dragon stretches, and a lot of its scales start to fall off. So they start to pet the dragon, and more of its scales fall off, and it's furry and soft underneath.
It becomes a dog.
And from that day, he grew furrier and furrier, and he was the beginning of all cats.
Oh.
Nothing of the dragon remained except for the claws, which all cats still have, as you can easily discern. And I hope you see now how important it is to feed your cat with bread and milk. If you were to let it have nothing to eat but mice and birds, it might grow larger and fiercer and scalier and tailier and get wings and turn into the beginning of dragons. And then there would be all of that bother all over again. Cats! Cats are dragons! That's the end of the episode.
I mean, because in even in How to Train Your Dragon, they acted a lot like cats.
They're cats! Look, you met a cat? You ever met a cat? You know that motherfucker's a dragon. They're not dogs. Dogs are not dragons. Cats are dragons. Or dragons, cats. Probably that one, actually.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of Dragons.
Yes, this was super fun. What is your favorite pop culture dragon? There's obviously tons. We didn't mention them.
Oh, there's a ton that we didn't mention, but not a lot.
What's your favorite part about dragon stories?
Oh, man. I don't know. I guess it depends on the mood I'm in. A lot of the times it's just How to Train Your Dragon is just like the best dragon story for me at the very least.
Yeah.
And like the best part of like that first movie is his first encounter with Toothless. Mm-hmm. That shit is so strong of him just putting his like hand out, head down, and Toothless bumps into it. That shit's super good. And that's the beginning
That trust.
of it all.
Yep. Subverting expectations of destruction. I much prefer it when dragons are not destructive. I much prefer it when they're just creatures that are just behaving as creatures do. I also like it when they're magic and they have other things and they're hyper intelligent and you can deal with them and they're just beings that have wants and you just have to navigate that. I think it's really fun. I like dragons a lot. I like it better when they don't like it when they get slayed. I mean, unless sometimes they have to, but I like it a lot more if we can find a different way to solve the problem.
I think for me it depends, right? Like I recently saw a diagram of the sizing of the different dragons of Middle Earth.
Yeah, that's scary, right?
That shit was wild. And the only thing I can think is, dude, I want a dragon hunting game on this shit.
Just that big.
Just like, because it's like, what is it? We have plenty of games where they climb giants to fight them, like Shadow of the Colossus and Eco are just the only example I can think of. But I think Prey to the Gods too is like games like that. And so I'm like, dude, I want that so bad.
Something like that, yeah.
It could be fun.
So yeah, dragons. Tell us what your favorite dragons, if we missed it. What's your favorite dragon story? What do you like about dragons? Do you disagree with anything we said? You probably do. Let us know over on Instagram or on Twitter. Or if you're one of our patrons, you can message us directly on Discord. We're there too. You're there too.
I'm there almost constantly.
Yeah, all the time. I'm always on Discord, so check it out. Yeah, if you're not there, but you want to hang out on Patreon, not only we can hang out with us directly on Discord, you'd also get access to all of our bonus episodes, including the most recent one, wherein we assign godly parents to the main characters from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and this totally just wasn't an excuse for us to bitch about this movie. No, of course not. Of course not.
I actually quite enjoy that movie.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. We will be back in your ears on Tuesday, June 7th to talk about Atlas. But until then, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Podcast of Poseidon is created and hosted by Darien and DJ Smartt. It's edited by Darien Smartt. The show is produced by Darien and DJ Smartt, as well as
Tim O'Connor,
The Crystal Con Man, Dionysus the Drunk.
Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain, and our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at bombshellnutshellart.
Like the show? Ready for more? Support Podcast of Poseidon on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Find out more at patreon.com/podcastofposeidon.
Can't spare the drachmas? You can support the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcast or by sharing us with your friends. Find all of our episodes and episode transcripts at podcastofposeidon.com.
Thanks for listening.